Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Golden 20s podcast. My name is Sadie, and I'm joined by my co host, Tegan. And we are pumped for today's episode because we are going to be talking all about travel, which is something both Tegan and I probably live for. I think that's a fair statement. So, we're just going to share some of our best travel tips with you. We both recently got back from all inclusive trips. Tegan went to Mexico a few weeks ago. I just got back from the Dominican. Tegan has another trip coming up to Calgary, I think the week this episode drops. So we are traveling gals these days, and we feel like we have a few tips to share with you in case you're also getting inspired to travel or have some trips coming up as well.
Yeah. Well, I think the perfect sort of place to start would be our best tips and tricks for before you even leave for your trip. And I think we're going to kind of approach this for, experienced travelers. Hopefully you get something new, or for people who've never flown on a plane or never left your country. Hopefully you
Mhm.
get some tips there. So we're trying to sprinkle a variety in.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first thing that came to mind for me before you leave is to create a detailed to-do list. And this is something that I always do because I'm the type of person who is very forgetful. And
Mhm.
even if I pack everything, we'll spend half of the trip being like, I think I forgot something. What did I forget? So I have to do my whole big to-do list. And that always helps me with, I don't know, relaxing, knowing that everything's handled. And that includes sort of everything I want to pack, especially if it's weird items. Like I always write down my Instax camera because that's the kind of thing that's so easy to forget. My
Yeah.
phone charger, sunscreen, little things that you're not going to pack for a weekend trip or whatever, but when you're going on a big destination, you want. And so that's always sort of the first thing I do.
Yeah, I love that so much. I always have my to-do list running as well, where it's like actual things I need to tackle before I leave, and then it's like a what to pack list as well. But one of the things that's on my to-do list typically, and I feel like I'm such a type A personality where when we talk about traveling, it comes out. So
Mm.
some people are going to be like the exact opposite of me on some of these things. However, these are again are like pro tips where I'm like, this really works for me. Maybe it'll work for you. But one of the things I always like to do before or kind of as part of my like pre-trip to-do list is to do laundry and like clean up my space
Yeah.
prior to leaving on my trip. And the laundry piece is because, of course, you want clean clothes to pack for your trip. But I'm also someone, when I come home from a trip, I literally dump my bag into my laundry basket and I just
Mm.
throw everything in the laundry. So it's like if I'm dumping that on top of an already overflowing laundry basket,
Yeah.
like that's just, I don't need to burden future Sadie with that. So I always do laundry first and I always tidy up my space, like especially taking out the garbage if I'm going to be away for like an extended period of time.
Yeah.
I don't want like my compost just rotting in
Yeah.
my kitchen. I don't want anything like that. And it's also just nice to come home to like a tidied space rather than coming home to like a sink full of dishes or something like that. So I always like to add those to my to-do list prior to leaving as well.
Yeah, same with cleaning out the fridge because there's nothing
Yeah,
worse than coming back and realizing you forgot something like rotting in your fridge. That's just the worst way to
totally.
get back to your normal life post trip.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like one of my other pro tips on the whole food side of things, and this is something I just did for my trip from Dominican, and I was so glad I did it, but I ordered HelloFresh to be delivered literally the day after I got back,
Mm.
and it just like removes you having to like think ahead to be like, well, I guess if you're going away for a week or longer, you're probably not going to grocery shop for when you get back prior to leaving because,
Yeah.
like you're saying, Tag, everything will just be rotting in your fridge while you're gone. But it's like if you're coming home, you're going to need to eat when you get home. So it's nice just to, you can Uber Eats the first night, but then it's nice to have like
Yeah.
HelloFresh delivered, especially if there's a chance you're going to catch COVID or get sick. Like I definitely got sick on my trip, hence my voice right now. But it's like, it's nice to have meals delivered to your house or like a grocery delivery if you don't do like HelloFresh or a meal subscription. But prearrange that ahead of time because your future self will really thank you when you're home from your trip and just feeling like so unsettled and like you have so much to do to get back on track.
Yeah, definitely. Another tip is to check your passport expiration date. Pro tip that you can't
Mm-hmm.
travel even if it's within 6 months of expiring. So even if your trip is before it expires, a lot of times they still will not let you cross the border because they think that you will just stay there and your excuse will be like, well, my passport's expired. So they try to avoid that and look into any entry requirements for the country you're traveling to, or even like entry suggestions. Like when I went to Cuba, I got certain vaccinations, that kind of thing. Obviously, COVID restrictions, look into if you need visas, all that stuff. Like that's not the kind of thing you want to be figuring out at the airport.
Yeah, 100%. I think another like thing that is part of my type A personality is I always come up with an itinerary ahead of time, and I highly recommend, so this is like an itinerary of what you're going to do when you're actually on your trip. And if you're somebody who's listening being like, Sadie, I'm not that type of traveler, I don't need an itinerary, I'm just like go with the flow, wander around and the adventure finds me type,
Mhm.
I love that for you and I totally understand. But I really think there's so much like, it's good to have at least a rough idea of an itinerary, even if you don't end up following it. But I feel like this really helps me figure out what I want and need to pack in terms of outfits, in terms of literally shoes, anything. So it's like, okay, I know I'm going on a hike one day, so I'm going to need running shoes, or I know I'm going, I don't know, for a nice dinner one night, so I'm going to bring a nice dress. Like those are kind of bad
Yeah.
examples because you should probably bring sneakers and a dress no matter what, but you can kind of match your outfits and what you're packing if you have a rough idea of an itinerary. But I
Yeah.
also really feel like having a rough idea of an itinerary really helps you save time when you're actually on your trip, because you're not spending time every single night being like, okay, what are we going to do tomorrow? It's like,
Yeah.
well, if you kind of have, you've already put in that brain, or you put in that like effort ahead of your trip, it just takes that effort out or time needed.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that time batching idea, do it ahead of time. So when you're actually on your trip, you're just like pulling from a list of things that you said you were going to do, rather than being like, okay, I guess we should Google things to do in Amsterdam on a Friday night or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm pro itinerary for those reasons.
Yeah, 100%. Another tip is to update your phone and your apps. Make sure all of that good stuff is going to work, and make sure that you have space on your phone so that you can take those Insta
Yeah.
pictures, make those TikToks, not be running out of space. I know the girlies on TikTok love the like photo clear out when you're on the airplane. I've seen so many
Oh,
TikToks about
yeah.
that, where it's like there's no better feeling than when you land and you've just like cleared out the depths of your photos on your phone. So,
I love
if you want to
that.
save a couple photos for you to organize on the plane, go for it. But definitely make sure, there's enough room so that you can receive texts and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. And it's like, it's the worst when you need to open your, I don't know, email app or
Yeah.
whatever app, and it starts glitching because it hasn't been updated in so long. And it's like, but that's the moment you need it to like get your boarding pass or whatever you're like trying to pull up.
Yeah.
It's like in a moment when you need it, that's when your app is going to glitch and decide,
Yeah.
nope, it's time to update me.
I'm also very pro uninstalling apps if you're not going to need them for your vacation life. So, like, I uninstall my work chat,
Yeah.
I uninstall my email, and all that good
Yeah.
stuff because I was like, I don't even need to see it. I'm off the clock.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually such a good idea. I'm somebody like I don't even feel tempted to look at my work stuff when I'm
Yeah.
on vacation. So I'm like, it can stay on my phone. Like I don't get notifications really for any of my apps on my phone anymore. So I'm like, it won't bother me. I'm not tempted. But if you
Yeah.
are tempted, that is such a good idea. I think my last kind of, again, pro tip for before your trip is to just keep your social plans leading up to your trip, like say the week before, as light as possible. So it's like, I'm somebody who's like, oh, I'm going away, so I need to see this person all before I go. I need to,
Right.
but it's like I'm also balancing that on top of like getting my nails done for my trip, maybe getting a
Yeah.
wax appointment, like, packing, cleaning my house, doing laundry, all those other things that we just talked about. Like it's way too much.
Yeah.
Also, I find when I'm taking an extended period of time off work, sometimes I have to work like over hours to
Yeah.
just get ahead or get myself in a good position to actually take time off. So,
Yeah.
not saying that should be normalized by any means, but just be mindful of that and don't push yourself too much because you don't want to stress yourself out about this trip if you don't have to.
Yeah. This sort of came up during all my traveling during COVID. I was like, I don't want to get sick and then spend like this time that I paid to have off in this beautiful location, like stuck in bed sick or stuck with a cold. So I'm also,
Yeah.
before I leave for a trip, like very aware of how social I'm being and how responsible I'm being with my health.
Yeah. No, that's a good point too.
So I think the next category we're going to talk about is still like in preparation for traveling, but it's packing specifically because I feel like, I don't know, this is a big part of traveling, obviously. It's a lot of the like excitement
Yeah,
of traveling. And I also feel like there are a lot of packing hacks out in the world. So yeah, I think that's a good
totally.
place to start. One of my, I think, like only tips I wrote down for this is to be strategic and simple with your planning because as someone who has paid for an overweight bag, it is painful. So do everything in your power to not have an overweight bag. I think like it's more expensive than paying for a second bag. So you look like a
Right.
little idiot in the airport, but you're already there, so you can't buy a second bag. That's why they get you. And yeah,
Yeah.
just be aware of like what you have in your bags. As someone who travels with cameras in the past, you can't have batteries in your bag. They will sometimes make you rip through and pull out everything with batteries. We just saw a paparazzi video of Pedro Pascal having that happen. And yeah, so be aware of that and just be smart with packing. I really like travel sizes of things because it makes things lighter. I'm good with doubling up on outfits, being an outfit repeater because it is worth
Mhm.
it to save that money.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like the best way I simplify my packing, again, going back to the whole itinerary thing, but I really plan my outfits ahead of time where I'm like, I think I've actually mentioned this on a past episode. Where we talked about travel, but I literally put my outfits together, take photos of them, and then save them on my camera roll. And then I just pack the
Yeah.
exact outfits that I put together for my trip. So it's like, again, I'm matching an outfit to the day or the activity I plan on doing while I'm there. But then it prevents me from overpacking because I'm not just throwing in like 10 different shirts, being like, okay, hopefully I feel like wearing one of those, or like, well, I can
Hmm.
wear this with anything, because it's in those moments where you're like, oh my God, I have nothing to pack or I have nothing to wear.
Yeah.
Or you, again, overpack because you feel like you have nothing to wear. So plan your outfits, take photos. Honestly, on my Dominican trip, I feel like the two girls I was hanging out with the whole time, I think they're both converted to taking photos of their outfits before they go,
Yes.
because every night they were like, so what are you guys going to wear to dinner tonight? And I would literally just open up my camera app
Yeah.
or my photo app and be like, this is what I'm thinking. And they're like, oh my God, I love that you do this. And I don't know, there was just so many times where it was like, what are we going to wear? And it was like, I just had pictures right there to show them. And they're like, I
Yeah.
love how you just already, again, have already thought about this and have it all planned out. So give it a try. If you're bad for overpacking, especially on the clothes, I feel like that could be a total game changer. I think my other tip on the clothing side too, instead of packing some of your bulkier items, like for instance, if you're taking a pair of sneakers or if you're going somewhere where you need like winter boots or you need a jacket or a coat or something like that, I like to wear all those bulkier items on the plane rather than put them in my like bag, just because it saves up the space. And it might be also, maybe I like layer on the plane where I'm like, okay, usually I'm wearing like the jacket that I'm taking on the trip on the plane, since the plane's kind of chilly anyway. But sneakers is a big one. Even if it's like I'm going to wear all my jewelry rather than pack it, things like that. I think you can also get strategic that way too, being like, instead of packing this, I'm just going to wear it. Save my space that way.
Yeah. I love flying out of Nashville and every single girl is wearing new cowboy boots with a new cowboy hat because they did not want to pack them.
Yeah.
That's the vibe.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that so much. I think you mentioned the word simplify, and that's another great word that came to mind for me as well. And this comes to mind for more like, not so much outfits, but I guess it could be for like accessories and whatnot, but more like skincare. I don't want to say vitamins, but it could be like vitamins, literally any routines that you have in place. It's like, think about what are the basics of this routine that I should take, rather than do I have to take the whole routine with me. So when you're thinking about skincare, it's like, do I really need to take my serums, my retinol, my like night mask, my face mask, my moisturizers? Like, no, probably not. Like, especially if you're just gone for a week or less, like you can maybe, simplify things a little bit and just take the basics. Sometimes if I'm going to like Montreal for a weekend or something, I usually use like a night moisturizer and a day moisturizer. Sometimes I'll just bring one moisturizer and use it for day and night. So just think of ways that you can simplify things, especially to free up space with your liquids if you're traveling with just a carry-on and you're limited with how many liquids you can bring.
Yeah, 100%.
I think we've also talked about packing cubes in the past, but that's another game changer, I think, for both of us. Actually, I think, Tag, you were the one who told me about packing cubes before I went to Bali. And now I'm like, how did I ever survive without these? Because they are so great. Not only do they like compress things and, really squish things down and, save space, but they really help keep you organized too. Like living out of a suitcase, if you don't typically like unpack, like I don't really think I don't know. Sometimes I guess I throw my things in like the drawers or like closets of wherever I'm staying. But for the most part, I'll just live out of my suitcase. And it's like, it's so much easier to do that when you have like organization. Again, my type A personality coming out here, but organization through your packing cubes. And it also just makes it easier. If say you're carrying with a carry-on, I still like to use packing cubes, but it also makes it easier in that case to know, like rather than going through your whole bag looking for something, it's like you just pull out the cube that you need,
Yeah.
Way easier.
100%. We love packing cubes in our household. We love like the toiletry over the door organizers that fold up really small.
Oh, yeah.
And our newest addition to our travel, accessories is we have like a laundry bag that folds up to be really, really tiny. And so you can pack it. And then when we're in the suite, so we always unpack. I don't know why. I think it's because I always travel with a lot of dresses. So I like to let them hang. And then it's like at that rate, I'll just take everything out. But so then we have like a laundry bag that pops up and all the dirty clothes throughout the trip we can put in the laundry bag. And then they're like out of sight. I'm also the kind of person who like, if I'm done with this piece of clothing, I'm whipping it on the ground, which is not the best when you're staying in a tiny room for a week. And so if I'm whipping it on the ground, well, I can whip it into this laundry bag and that's fine. So it helps in that way too. So highly recommend.
I love it. We love a laundry bag. I think actually something that I just thought of now while you were talking, I think too, a lot of places, especially if you're staying like at a hotel, and this is an extra cost, but a lot of places do offer like laundry services as well. So say you're
Yeah.
gone for like 2 weeks or more, maybe you only pack 1 week's worth of clothes and then you do laundry for, and then
Yeah.
like kind of mix and match your outfits or outfit repeat for the second week, So like also look into that sort of thing and like take advantage of it if that will help you or help prevent you from overpacking.
Yeah. Some of the suites I've stayed in that are more like luxury have laundry in the room, which is the
Wow.
best because it's like if you have something,
Yeah.
you're like, I did a workout in this cute set and I want to wear it again, but it's sweaty. You're like, just give that a quick wash and you're good to go.
Yeah, okay, I haven't made it there yet. I'm working my way up in like
Yeah.
luxury accommodations. Haven't had in-suite laundry before, but that is my new goal. Especially even like you said, a workout, but even if you're just
Yeah.
somewhere that's like hot and humid, like I sweat
Yeah.
so much where it's like if I'm wearing this cute dress, I'm like, no, I'll wear it once and then it's just like disgusting because I
Yeah.
was so sweaty or whatever. So, yeah, I need to look for that now. Like it's
Yes.
like
The new
apartment
goal.
hunting in sweet laundry, but for travel.
Yep.
And I think
Exactly.
actually kind of along these lines too, use your hotel amenities like towels, hair
Yeah.
dryers, things like that, because they're there for a reason. You don't need to bring your own. Even if you prefer your own, it's just a week, 2 weeks, whatever, however long you're gone. Like you can live without your stuff and just use what's available to you.
Yeah. I think I've just had a genius thought. That's if you have laundry in your
Ooh.
room, your last day, you clean all your laundry, pack the clean stuff in your suitcase, and then when you get home, you don't have to do laundry. You just have to put away the
Yeah.
already clean clothes.
There you go, girl. Genius.
Wow. The thoughts never occurred to me until now, but
Yeah, I wish you guys could see Tegan's face as she said that. She was really processing it as she said it and
yeah.
then just staring off into space, being like, what
I'm
did
a
I just unlock
travel
here?
genius. Yeah. I could do this professionally.
I love it.
Great. Well, I think the next category we're going to talk about is specifically plane travel, which is my favorite way to travel. I don't know, what's your favorite way,
Mhm.
Sadie?
I like planes just because I like takeoff in planes. I hate
Oh,
landing.
okay.
However,
Right.
takeoff, the feeling of takeoff is the best, where it's like you literally watch all your little problems stay on the tarmac behind you, like
Yeah.
however thousands of feet below you, and you're just like, bye, goodbye, everybody, goodbye, Toronto, goodbye. All
Yeah.
my problems, all my worries, all my responsibilities, I'm out of here. That's how I feel on a plane. And like
Yeah.
trains just don't do the same.
No, certainly not. Yeah, I just love going to the airport. Like there's so much
Yeah,
excitement. I
same.
think because like when I was little, I'd fly like once a year, so it was like a big thing. Like that's a big trip. So it's like
Yeah.
even the smell, like if I'm behind a truck that's burning diesel, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it smells like the airport." And yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So I am very passionate about airport travel, clearly. And so, obviously, I have lots of thoughts on this. The first thing that I wrote down is to be strategic with picking your seat. And I'm always the type of person who's like exactly 24 hours before, got to pick my seat and, check in with the app, which is, I guess, a good tip if you didn't know, is to always check in with your airline's app because you can do that at home rather than checking in when you're at the
Mhm.
airport. And I
Yes.
prefer aisle seats because I get anxious about having to go pee. Whereas if I'm sitting on the window, as much as I like love looking at the window, as soon as we take off, I'll be like, oh my God, I need to pee. Oh my God. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, but I can't make
That's so
these people
funny.
move. It's a whole thing. Whereas if I'm on the aisle, it's fine, especially like flying on long flights. I was on a window flying back from Hawaii and I had to wake up the guy beside me who was sleeping to use the washroom. And I was like, I feel
Ah,
so bad because he looked so comfy, but I'm like, dude, I'm going to pee on you. So you got to get up. So I'm like, I just feel
yeah.
better if I'm on the aisle, but it's very, I feel like personal which seat people prefer.
Yeah. Yeah, I always go for a window seat, but this is
Yeah.
like TMI, but it's like I cannot pee on moving vehicles. Like I can if it's like dear need kind of thing, like maybe a
Yeah.
flight to Hawaii or like a flight to Asia or something where it's like
Yeah.
14-hour flight. Okay, yeah, like we need to be a little bit healthy here and I'd force myself to do it. But if it's like a 4-hour flight, I'm like, nope, I'm not peeing. I'll pee before we go. I'll pee as soon as we
Yeah.
land.
Yeah.
But I'm taking the window seat and I'll be the best window seat person who will never ask people to move because I'm like, nope, it's just not in the cards for me to pee on this plane today.
Yeah.
Not healthy, but I'm a window seat girly through and through.
Fair enough.
On the seat selection, I also think if you can choose your seat and if you have a connecting flight, try to choose a seat as close to the front of the plane as possible. And this is just so that you're one of the first people off the plane rather than, you're like, okay, great. I have like a 2-3 hour layover. Great. That's lots of time. But then it takes however long to get everyone off the plane. And if you're at the very back of it, that might shrink your time to get to your connection by a lot. So sit
Yeah.
as close to the front of the plane as you can, especially for connecting flights.
Yep. 100%. I also am a big supporter of getting to the airport early. I feel like you're either like a get to the airport 3.5 hours early, or you're like, we're running to make this flight and could miss it, and there's no in between. And
Yeah,
I am an early person through and through because I feel like it's always better to have extra time and to like sit down and get a meal or to shop rather than like rushing or missing your flight.
totally. I'm with you 100%. I'm like I need to be there way earlier than necessary in order
Yeah.
to like have peace of mind. Cuz it's like it's not a good way to start your trip if you're literally
No.
running for your flight and like you're stressed out and then you're like, "Wait, do I have everything?" Like, I don't know, it's in those moments of like time crunch where I like second guess everything. So it's like,
Yeah.
why put myself through that if I don't have to?
Yeah. Well, and like you never know what the situation's going to be like at the airport. I've missed 2 flights that
Yes.
I was at 3.5 hours before, and I still missed
Yeah.
them. Like,
Yeah.
and you just never know what's going on if the security line's really long or if they've like bumped up the time of departure or what the deal is. Like, it's just better to be early than to miss your flight.
Totally. Yeah, on the topic of like security wait times, there's this website that I think it's just for Canadian airports. But if you just like Google, like for instance, like Toronto Pearson security wait times, it takes you to this
Hmm.
website. It's called like CATSA or something like that, CATSA. But essentially, it'll tell you the wait times for security at all of the Canadian airports and then by terminal as well. And when I'm going to the airport or I know I'm going to the airport, like especially in the past, like since COVID, I guess, where
Hmm.
Pearson here in Toronto has been like one of the worst airports for security wait times and stuff. I'm like super
Yeah.
paranoid about it and missing my flight due to crazy long lines. So I'm like always checking this and it's like
Yeah.
it's very accurate actually, but it's like it'll tell you if it's a 5 minute wait or if it's a half-hour wait. So I feel like it can be a little bit of ease of mind for you to know ahead of time before getting there what's going on, but at the same time,
Hmm.
things can change so quick. Like I've had it where I'm in my Uber to the airport and it's like wait time 5 minutes. Then I get there and it's like wait time 45 minutes. Like it
Yeah.
can change very quickly, but there is ways that you can kind of keep an eye on things. And then another hack, again, for my Toronto girlies that I just learned about is that at Pearson, they just introduced YYZ Express, and you
Hmm.
can essentially book a time to go through security versus standing in like a really long security line. So check that out, especially if you're traveling during like peak hours, like first thing in the morning. I feel like this could be a really great way. You just essentially you fill out like a form online with your flight details and you book an appointment, but then you show up, you bypass the security line, you're like, hey, I'm here for my appointment. And then it's like easy breezy fly through rather than potentially missing your flight waiting in a huge security line.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like getting as much done at home as possible. So that's like checking into your flight using the app, using YYZ Express to book a time. There's also, if you are flying through Pearson into America, you can use the CBP mobile passport control app, and that makes you bypass the border security, like not the TSA or, like the flight security, but to get into America. And so you just show the app instead of having to wait in the line and show them your passport. And the same landing in Canada, you can use the ArriveCan app, which was for COVID, but now is nothing to do with COVID. And you essentially fill it out just like how you did previously. And then you get to skip the line to come back into Canada. And you just show a border guard your app and get to skip. And it's just, I don't know. It makes it so that it feels like more things are in your control, which is nice.
Totally. And it's like if these options exist, why not do them? You know what I mean? Like they might take an extra minute to book an appointment or to, I don't know, fill out your ArriveCan, but it's like it'll save you so much time in the long run. Yeah. It's funny though that you put ArriveCan on here because somebody told me like, okay, even though you don't need it anymore, like for COVID reasons, still use ArriveCan. And I was like, okay, got it, I will. And then I totally forgot about it. And as soon as I landed at Pearson coming back from Dominican, I saw all the signs being like, ArriveCan, join this line. And it was so short. And then there I was in the huge long line. And I was like, damn it, it's too late now. But yeah, good tip and good reminder.
Yeah, I didn't know until when I was coming back from Mexico, someone on our flight was like, if anyone has ArriveCan, fill it out. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then sure enough, and same with the CBP, is that what it's called? Yeah, CBP passport control to get when you're leaving Pearson. I saw that on like a TikTok. And I was like, this sounds too good to be true. And then sure enough, when I was flying to Nashville, I showed it and they were like, yep, you skipped the line. It's like a Nexus. So I was like, okay, great. Thanks, TikTok.
We love the Nexus treatment for everyday girlies like us. We love it. And I think also ArriveCan, you don't need to be Canadian for it, right? It's just if you're coming to Canada. So I don't know if you guys have huge travel plans to come to Toronto or come to Canada, but if you do and you're like American listening or something like that, you can still look into ArriveCan too. Even actually all of those, if you're flying into Toronto especially, I feel like all of these tips apply to you, but more so for our Canadian people who frequent Pearson like Tegan and I do.
Yeah, our favorite place.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It's good when you're on the other side. Like, I love Pearson when I'm through like baggage, through security. It's great.
Once you're in,
knowing I'm going to the airport, it's the most stressful thing. But again, guys, it's just because Pearson's been like so bad for like luggage delays, losing luggage, planes just sitting on the tarmac for like hours and hours. Like it's been a hot mess. I think it's better now, but there was a time where it was like, good luck if you're traveling. So this is why we have all the tips, because we're like, nope, nobody's messing up our vacation. Like it's going as smoothly as we can, as we can make it.
Yeah, kind of related to that. And, just like the state of mind, being relaxed when you're traveling, get AirTags, because I am a Delta girl through and through. And Delta app, you can track your luggage, and it says like your luggage is in this part of the airport, or it's on your plane, or it's doing this. And when I was flying to Mexico, we were not flying Delta. And I was like, no, what am I going to do? I can't track my luggage. So we got air tags, and it was just like, I don't know, peace of mind. You can literally see
Peace of
where in
mind.
the
Yeah.
airport your bag is. You can see it, oh, it's on the plane or whatever. And it's just, like realistically, what's the worst that can happen? It's probably fine. Maybe your luggage is late, even if it's lost, it's not the end of the world. But at the same time, it just like feels better that you're like, I know where my luggage is.
Yeah, 100%. I usually am just a carry-on person, but for Dominican, I did check a bag and everyone was telling me get air tags for it or a air tag for
Yeah.
it. And I didn't, but I was like, I know that I'm risking it. Luckily, everything went over well, but I was like, okay, next time I'll definitely get an air tag ahead of like, I didn't think of it soon enough. Like, by the time I
Yeah.
thought, oh yeah, let me get an air tag, it was already too late. And I was like, nope, I'm going on this trip like in 2 days. But next
Yeah.
time I'm like, yes, this is the next travel tip I need to unlock for myself.
Yes. The next thing I wrote down for plane travel is to remember headphones that plug in, because this is something that I always forget. And then I can never watch the movies on the plane, or I have to watch them with like the
Yeah.
free airplane headphones and it stinks. So bring headphones that plug in, or like an adapter for your AirPods.
Girl, do you want to hear the most ridiculous thing?
Oh gosh.
So, you know how you just said
Yeah.
the shitty headphones that are free? So I took Air Transat to Dominican and they were like headphones, blankets, like, you know, how they come through
Yeah.
and they like
Yeah.
are giving you this stuff. The lady in front of me goes, I'll take 2 headphones. She goes, okay, great. That's $21.99. The lady was
Oh
like,
my
excuse me?
God.
She was like, yeah, they're $10.99 each. And she was like, $10.99 for the headphones? She's like, yeah. She's like, okay,
Oh,
I'll pass.
yeah.
I was like, you're charging $10 or $11 for
Yeah,
these
that's
shitty
crazy.
headphones? Oh my God. I don't know if they were also charging for the blankets. They must have been, but
Must
I
have
was
been,
like,
yeah.
again, they're like a piece of
Plastic,
like
yeah.
a little piece of fabric. Yeah, I'm like, how much are
Oh
you
my
guys
God.
charging for this? And like, are you insane? But anyways, sorry, just had to share that.
See, Delta would never.
No, yeah, I did have a good a good experience with Air Transat this trip. I haven't
Mm.
in the past, but checks out. Checks out. Air Transat would charge
Yeah.
$10.99 for headphones.
Crazy. I
So
also
funny.
like to bring a lot of options, because I always feel like I have a vision of what I'm going to want to do on the plane, and then it's always different. So
Yeah.
bring playlists, and
Yeah.
remember to download your playlist if you're a person who just listens on Wi-Fi. Don't be stuck. Like, I saw a guy on TikTok who was like, I only have 3 songs and they're all Taylor Swift, and I just have to listen to these 3 songs for my 3-hour flight. Do not be that guy. And, so I always like have my playlists.
I'm imagining, you know how like I don't know if it's still this way because I don't use Apple Music, but you know how they used to like default the U2 album on
Yes,
Apple
yeah.
Music or like iTunes? Imagine that's
That's all
the
you
only
have.
thing you have to listen to.
Yeah, the worst. So definitely down your playlist. The last time I flew to LA, I was beside a guy who obviously didn't, and so he was listening to like the playlists that are on like the in-flight
Oh yeah.
entertainment. He was listening to like
Yeah.
the best of rap and like nodding his head along. I was like, okay, relax. Like, you're listening to Air Canada's best of rap. Yeah. So long story short, download your playlists, download movies, bring your headphones, bring a book, a puzzle, anything like that.
Yeah. I love it. I know I was just talking about blankets for purchase along with the headphones, but I love to bring a blanket scarf with me on the plane. And it's like, again, if you're going somewhere, like especially if you're traveling in like the fall and you're going to need a scarf for something anyway, it's like just bring that on the plane with you. But even if you don't, find it's like such a great thing to bring because the plane always is so chilly, but it can also be folded up, used as a little pillow. Like it's just the best thing. It's even just like a comfort thing, you know, if
Mm-hmm.
you're on a plane for a long time. So maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but if you have space, especially in your carry-on or something, or if you can wear it,
Yeah.
definitely bring a blanket scarf with you. Also, in my carry-on, I didn't do this last time and definitely got sick, aka me right now. But I really, really recommend you bring Lysol wipes and a mask on the plane
Mm.
because I really feel like you won't regret bringing them, but you will regret if you don't bring them, which is
Yeah.
definitely what happened to me. Since March 2020, I've been traveling with Lysol wipes, and if I use them or not, like it's
Yeah.
hit or miss. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Same with the mask. But again, coming back, there was from my last trip, and I think when I kind of caught this cold, there was somebody on the plane who wasn't right beside me, but like one seat over, and they were extremely like unwell, sick, and I was like, well, no
Mm.
wonder I got sick as well. But I
Yeah.
didn't even have a mask like handy to throw on, and like even
Yeah.
actually on the way over, I was hearing like coughing and sneezing happening in the seat behind me, and I was like, it's probably fine, and luckily it was, but I don't know. I think just because COVID restrictions aren't as strict anymore, I feel like you can still definitely take your precautions and like
Mhm.
sanitize things and do your own thing if you don't want to get sick because trust me, this is not fun. The trip was worth
Yeah.
it, but I wish I wore a mask because I'm suffering these days. Post vacay cold, it's hitting hard.
Yeah. Even just like bringing Kleenex or baby wipes, I feel like is something that's easily overlooked. But I had a nosebleed on a plane once and
Oh
had
gosh.
nothing, and it was
Oh.
awful. So
Oh
I'm going
my
to throw that
gosh.
visual out there as a warning for you all.
Yeah. Air Transat would be like $10 for Kleenex,
Yeah.
$10 for Kleenex.
Actually what happened was she was like, we ran out of Kleenex, so I got you like the rough brown paper towel. She was like, all I have
Oh
is
my
this. And I was like,
God.
okay, well, that's better than my hand, so this is what we're doing.
Oh
But
my God.
this is why
That's
as soon as we
brutal.
landed, I was like, I'm buying baby wipes right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, wanted to throw that out
Wow.
there.
Yep. Good tip. Be
Yeah.
prepared for anything, people.
learned
And Lysol
learned from
wipes and
me.
masks, Kleenex. Yeah,
Yeah.
those things will have you ready.
Exactly. I did want to ask what you think about alcohol at the airport on the plane. What's your vibe?
Alcohol at the airport, yes. Alcohol on the plane, no.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I think that just because already I know myself, like when I'm tired, I don't function very well. I'm not very pleasant to be around. So it's like if I'm already like long day of traveling and whatnot, I know when I
Yeah.
get to my destination, I'm going to be like, I don't know, in a state where I'm like, I probably don't need to be half drunk on top of that. Or like, I don't need to put
Yeah.
myself through that. So I'm like a no drinking on the plane. And it's funny though, because I just learned the saying how one in the air is two on the ground,
Hmm.
where it's like because of
Yeah.
the altitude and like the cabin pressure or something, you can get like way drunker off one drink when you're actually on the airplane. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense, but I had never heard that before. So I don't know, but that's just me. What
Yeah.
do you think, Teg?
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. And I'm even with the airport, it has to be like a certain vibe, like an afternoon flight. I don't think I'm unless I'm hungover, then I feel like if you're hungover at the airport, your only choice is to just start drinking, or else the flight's going to make you feel
Yeah.
terrible. So I think like if that's the situation, get like a Caesar or a Bloody Mary in America. But for the most part, no, unless it's free. Maybe if I was in first class, I'd be
Yeah.
wasted. But I
Yeah.
do
True.
have a friend who I hope she's okay that I'm telling this story. She was flying first class to Hawaii the last time I went. And so she had lounge access, got drunk
Mm.
in the lounge, and then woke up midway through the flight and was so hungover that she almost threw up.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, yep, see,
Yeah.
I could not do that. And that was in first class where
No.
you're like laying down, but she was like, it was like the feeling of it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. See, when I say like I'll drink at the airport, it's more like one drink to be like,
Yeah. A cocktail.
cheers to the trip. Yeah. And it's
Yes.
like
I'm the same.
something to like celebrate like
Yeah.
the kickoff of your trip or like a new adventure, whatever. So like
Yeah.
that's what that's what I was talking about. But yeah, even the other thing, like I don't think I would ever go really hard on the last night of my trip knowing I have
Yes.
a travel day the next day because again, exactly like you were saying, uh, like it is my worst nightmare to be
Yeah.
hungover and then have to put up with like all the airport people and customs and all of
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Plus, yeah, be on the plane and I don't know. That just seems like a disaster to me.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, I think our last piece, or not last piece, oh my gosh, guys, can you tell I'm fading out here? Our last thing that we're going to talk about is travel tips for when you're at your destination. So I think I just talked about the last night, not getting too drunk and crazy so you're not hungover for your flight, but I also recommend maybe not going super hard on night one either. And Tegan and I were just talking about this prior to recording because we were debriefing on my trip. But I said to her that night one of my trip to Dominican, I got like blackout. And I know nobody cares to know the details, but it was like, I think it was just because I was so excited to be there. I was so
Yeah.
tired from like such a long travel day and then of course it was my first all inclusive experience. So I was like, wait, what do you mean? That's just open bars all over the place and they're making me fancy drinks and I just have to
Yeah.
tip them every now and then. Like, I don't know. It was just it was a lot and it was exciting. And all of that just ended up me getting extremely drunk. And it was like, that was a lot for night one. And then I think day two, I felt like my head was in the clouds the whole day because I hadn't actually taken time to just settle in to my room and like process the fact that I was there and like
Hmm.
this is life now, like I didn't really give myself time to do that. So I just felt really off. So my tip, all of this to say, the tip here is to take time to settle in, especially if you'll be there for a while. Like, you don't need to go out and do everything the second you land. Like,
Yeah.
settle in. You'll thank yourself for it.
Yep. 100%. I think one of my main tips is to always try and find balance. Like, I feel like, especially with all inclusives, it's easy to just be like, I'm going off the deep end. I'm drinking at 9 a.m. and I'm only eating nachos for every meal. And it's like, that's great. And maybe you do that for a day and that's fun, but you're going to feel awful. Like, you need to drink
Yeah.
water. So, like, I was one of those people at the all inclusive who had like a water cup. And when I'd order a drink, I'd be like, can you fill
Hmm.
up my water cup? And I am also very pro eating salad while traveling, which is maybe a hot take. And it's not because you should be skinny or whatever. It's because, like, when I was in Mexico, I had salad as my side for every single meal, and I did not have any tummy troubles when everyone else
Yeah.
in my group did because they were eating like plates of nachos or like, I'm going to have 4 hot dogs for lunch, which is
Yeah.
like awesome and fun, very poolside vibes, but also can backfire dramatically. So sneak some veggies in there, drink your water, put on your sunscreen, take care of yourself because then you can have fun for longer, I feel like.
I love that. I'm turning that into a social post the week this episode drops. Like,
Great.
sneak in your veggies, sunscreen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think another point on staying hydrated is if you're someone who gets bloated from the flight, or if you are going
Mm.
somewhere where you have jet lag, hydration helps with both of those things. So it's like super important to drink a shit ton of water to help you get through either bloating or jet
Mhm.
lag. So stay hydrated, guys. It cures all problems. We say that all the time, but it's true. Another big thing, again, going back to my itinerary, I always am pinning things on my Google Maps, and there is also an option to download a certain map. Like, there's an option to download your map on
Yeah.
Google Maps to use it offline as well. So if you're not going to be using like a SIM card or like activating your phone while you're
Mm-hmm.
traveling, you can still use your Google Maps. So check that out. I think it's a really great way to just even see like proximity where all the things you have on your to-do list or bucket list within one another on a map, so you can kind of plan your days that way. But I find it just really helps you when you're actually at your destination to get around. And yeah, I don't know. I'm running out of steam here, but I think you know what I'm saying. Use your Google
Yes.
Maps, download it to use it
Yes.
offline.
Yes,
Sorry.
exactly. No, it's all good. Another tip is to try and balance both like capturing the memories and posting to social and living in the moment. Try not
Totally.
to do too much of like living and capturing the Insta content as much as like that's fun. Also take moments to just appreciate what's going on in front of you.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny, when I was in Dominican, it was over Easter weekend, so my whole family was like together for Easter.
Yeah.
And my sister's like, you're really not, she's actually not on social media right now, but she's like, my family was saying how I wasn't posting very much. And I was like, guys, listen, like I'm here living the experience. Like it's my first all
Yeah.
inclusive, let me live. First of all, I was also like, I was unwell to post the first night, as we already covered. Then the second day I was feeling off because I hadn't taken time to settle in. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, but I was like, I'm feeling so much pressure. Like everyone's so excited for me to be here where I feel like I need to be
Right.
posting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm just trying to like get to know the people that I'm hanging out with and like
Yeah.
figure out this resort and like how it all works. So it is overwhelming, and you definitely, just a reminder, you don't owe it to people to be
Yes.
bringing them along on your adventure with you. I find just like posting everything before you go to bed, like that could be a really great solve where you're like taking pictures through the day, but just do kind of like a dump at night or something like that. That was working for me super well.
Yeah.
And then my last tip is to look into luggage storage. And this is if you're getting to your accommodations before you can check in, or you're checking out like hours and hours before your flight. And this is more so if you're not staying at a hotel, because typically hotels will still hold your bags if you're there early or whatever. But if you're like staying at an Airbnb or something and that's not an option, just Google like luggage storage in the city that you're traveling to. Here in Toronto, there's one called Bags Away. That might be a national or international thing, I'm not sure. But essentially, it's just like small businesses register. It's kind of like Airbnb, but for just luggage storage. And it's often at small businesses. So there might be like a convenience store. You just show up, be like, okay, I'm dropping off my bag. You kind of register it all on the website. But essentially, they'll just hold your bag for a set amount of time. And it's supposedly totally secure and everything when it's through one of these like companies online. So definitely check that out. It saved me many times before, even just like downtown Toronto, where I'm like, I had, say, like an event all day, and then I was hopping on a train to like go visit my parents or something. It was like, rather than carrying around my bag with me all day, I'm just gonna put it in a luggage storage and then pick it up when I'm ready to head on my way. So check that out. I feel that's another pro tip not everybody thinks of.
Love it. Great. Well, those are all our tips and tricks for traveling. Hopefully, you learned something new, and hopefully, you're all traveling to somewhere amazing this year. If you are, send us a DM or tag us in your pictures or something, and then we can vicariously live through you and your travel plans. That, I think, is everything for this week. We do put out a new episode every single Tuesday, so make sure you're following us and subscribe to us so you see when those new episodes drop. In between that, follow us on social at Our Golden 20s. We're on almost all the platforms. And we also have a Patreon page, which is the best way to show your support for the podcast. That's everything. Thanks for listening.
See you next Tuesday.